This is Your Pain Game podcast, where we talk about the game of living in and with chronic pain and trauma, getting to the heart of how to heal. I am your host, Lyndsay Soprano. On the show, I plan on discussing with doctors, chronic pain patients, holistic practitioners, loved ones, and anybody that is interested in having their voice heard in the chronic pain and trauma world that we live in. Everyone has experienced loss and death of a loved one in some capacity, right? I mean, even if it's your dog baby, which I have lost many, unfortunately, no matter what, we know grief, right? And it doesn't even necessarily have to be somebody dying. Loss is losing a relationship that you've been in for 35 years, right? Loss is loss of a job. Loss is losing a child. Loss, right? We've all experienced it to some capacity, that emptiness, the sadness, the disbelief. That for me is what's challenging for grief with me, is the disbelief that they could actually be gone. It's almost like an out-of-body experience to me, at least. And for me, who feels far more than most, the empath that Lyndsay is, with each loss, I have felt like a piece of me has kind of disappeared and shriveled away. And I don't like that because I don't want to forget the love. I don't want to forget that relationship. I don't want to forget that person or that experience that I've lost. And I know that I haven't fully grieved all of my losses, and I don't even really know what that means to fully grieve. I know that a lot of that grief throughout my life of things that have happened to me, things that I've done to others, have sat in my bod. But I mean, when you talk about grieving, for me, grieving is ugly sobbing for at least a week or two and disconnect from society, sit on my couch, watch sappy movies, or most likely just true crime, and drink way too much Prosecco, right? And then I guess we just have to move on because that's what we're supposed to do as adults. Just move on. You're fine. Just move on. It's not that easy. And that is where my guest today is going to help us how to grieve in a healthier way for us, as well as the people that are around us in our lives. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you today to my guest, Denise Dilvaard. Hello, darling.
Hello, Lyndsay. It's great to be here and great to be sharing the message of grief, that, grief is messy and grief is grief. You briefly mentioned the loss of our fur babies. I just lost my fur baby at 13 years old. And it's grief. And I thought, this is grief all over again. I know I lost my husband. People say, oh, yeah, but it's just an animal. It's not. It's part of your life.
Oh, my God.
So grief comes in many shapes and sizes. And the key is to move through it, is to not stay in that grief, to not stay in that pain, because that causes havoc, absolute havoc.
So Denise is a grief and trauma expert, not a coach. She's an expert. After experiencing profound loss after the sudden passing of her husband in 2009 at the young age of 55, her methods of grieving were not working, right? We've been there, done that. So Denise sought a path to healing that led to the creation of something called the Flow Grief Release Method. And we're going to get totally into that, a transformative approach to moving through grief with grace and ease. Grace is a hard thing for me, but that's just because it's me. Denise's journey from the depths of despair to rediscovering joy, we're going to talk a lot about joy today, inspired her to help others. With over 15 years of experience, she has guided thousands to reclaim their lives internationally from their grief using her unique flow method that dramatically shortens the healing process from years to months. I will take that all day long, from years to months. So, all right, I'm rolling out the red carpet for you, babe. And I'd like to start by talking about what happened to your husband in 2009 and what you kind of coin as a despair meltdown. And let's take it from there.
Well, we got up in the morning. He went off to work. I went off to work, and he didn't come home. It's just, if we put it in a nutshell, he died of a blood clot. So there was no goodbyes. There was no I love yous. There was no warning.
Yeah.
I was young at the time. The kids had just moved out of the house. We were living on 8 acres of land. It was our forever home that we built. I had at that stage 8 grandsons. I've now got 9, but at 8 grandsons. So we had the motorbike track out the back for the boys, and we were creating our family home, the haven where everybody came to. And then I suddenly found myself on my own.
Ugh.
What was I going to do? Where do I go from here? We go into la la land. We feel as though we're walking outside our bodies. We really do. And that's normal. That's grief. I started forgetting things. I started repeating myself. And my daughter said to me, she said, Mum, she said, you're losing it. You're getting Alzheimer's. And I thought, I can't be getting Alzheimer's at my age. It's impossible. This just doesn't happen. But what I didn't realize, it was a thing called widow fog.
Widow fog.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
The chemicals change your brain. When the only way that I can really put it is when you have baby brain. When you're pregnant and you have baby brain, I'm sure a lot of ladies can relate to that, where you just forget things, you repeat yourself, Widow fog is exactly the same thing. So, and I didn't discover that until I started my own healing journey. No doctor told me, no psychiatrist told me, no psychologist told me, no counselor told me, because
no,
they don't know. So I was seeing a psychologist who then told me, hey, it's going to take you 5 to 7 years. You've lost your husband. You need to wait for time, and you need to go through the 5 stages of grief. Initially, I believed her because I didn't know what else to do, until it didn't work anymore. And that's when I actually I went to work. In my previous life, I was a bookkeeper to small business. I did taxes and all the left brain stuff. I would say my previous life. And I had a particularly bad client, and I came home and I just threw my laptop and I can't fucking do this anymore. I'm done. I cannot live like this anymore. And I basically wiped myself out with wine that night.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Wiped myself out with wine. Ladies, can I get a count on how many of us have done that? Yep, that's you, all of us. Yes. I choose Prosecco, but yes, wiping out with wine. Well, and you were with him since you were 16 years old.
That's right.
So that is a lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even imagine. Well, actually, my high school sweetheart was wonderful. I actually could imagine being married to him if I actually ended up marrying him. But big picture, 16 years old to 55. I mean, that is a long time to be with somebody.
Yeah. And we worked together. We had a business together. Everybody used to say, how do you do it? You're with each other 24/7. It's because we were good friends.
Yeah, we like each other.
We grew up together. We brought each other up. We were kids when we got married. We had kids when we were kids.
Yeah.
So it was just, we were just there. And after I wiped myself out and crawled into bed, I woke up in the morning still in my clothes from the day before.
Well, I mean, that's what wine will do.
Yeah. My eyes were a bit swollen because with every glass of wine, I was crying. I'd have another glass of wine because that's what wine does. It brings out all that stuff. But that was when I realized that I can't keep on doing this. And I could very quickly fall into that trap of living on my own and having wine every night.
Was the wine what you would describe as a specific moment that you realized you needed to embark on a journey?
Yeah, very specific moment, because it actually frightened me to think that it's so easy to fall into that. I frightened myself.
Yeah.
It's growing up and having parties. We all wipe ourselves out, but it's fun. You wake up in the morning and think, gee, that was a good night last night. This was totally the opposite. I was doing it to drown my sorrows, literally to drown my sorrows, to block out my world. And that's the danger. That's the danger. And I've worked with so many ladies that have become alcoholics since their husband died.
So when you decided, like, I'm done with this, I'm done drowning my sorrows, and whatever it is, we all do it, whether it's gambling or shopping or drinking or drugs or whatever, we all have a coping food. We all have our coping mechanisms as we go through, as we grieve, and we all grieve differently. And it's okay to grieve. It is okay to let it all out. It is okay to not have your shit together. It is okay to unravel. because we know that there are people around us that will help us ravel ourselves back up, you know? And I'm fortunate that I have very good support in my life with my pain stuff and all of that. But when people don't have a support network, that has got to be harder. So let's talk a little bit about you're done with this now. I'm done drowning in wine, even though that was fun. Some nights it's not. Some nights it's not. That big picture is like, this is fun. This is great. I'm weepy and I'm watching Bridget Jones' Diary, you know? And now what? So now you've decided this isn't working.
Yeah.
This isn't working for me. So now what happens?
So instinctively, I knew, because I'd been on the self-growth and self-development path for many years. Martin and I used to do it. For God's sake, I got this man who was an auto electrician, burly man, to meditate with me. So, you know, so we were already on that path, and we were both on that path together. And I knew, okay, I've got to heal me. I've got to heal myself, not the grief. Because the grief is going to be there for the rest of our life. It's loss. We're going to grieve that loss, the person.
Sure.
So I thought, you know what? And I opened up my laptop, and the next morning, I opened up my laptop and I went, I know, I'll become a life coach. Now, this was 15 years ago. I am so broken. But I did that so that I could get the tools. You see, being a high achiever, it wasn't good enough for me to work with somebody. I had to become that person. I'm sure many ladies can relate to that. It's like, no, I'll just get the tools for myself. And in that process, I healed really quickly because I was doing the inner work on myself. I was discovering my limiting beliefs. I wasn't just talking to somebody about my pain. Now I was actually facing my shadow side. Who am I? That was my biggest question. Who the hell are you? Because remember, we met at 16. I was a child. Got married at 19, 20 going on 21, really got married. Had our kids. I remember my mother saying to me, you're not going to get a 21st birthday present because you got a wedding.
Oh, Mom.
Hi, Mom. Really? You know? So that was my life. We just went through life, and in that process grew up as one. I was a mother, I was his wife. Now all of a sudden, who am I?
Like an identity crisis.
Total identity crisis.
Yeah.
I'm not that 16-year-old girl anymore. I'm not a wife anymore, and I'm not even really a mother anymore because my kids had moved out. So I had nobody to nurture or to love or to mother or to go, to distract me. So that was my biggest thing. I remember lying on the floor and saying, you don't even know who you are. You don't even know who you are. And that's where my inner journey began. And that's the fundamental beginnings of healing and growth, is we have to find out who we are. But to do that, we have to feel our pain.
Yes, the feeling of the pain.
Yes.
We do that often on this show. Actually, every episode is feeling the pain. And, that's one of the things that for me with this show is giving pain purpose, right? Whatever what pain means to you, whatever that word means, it defined by you, not by me, not by Denise, by you. What is pain? Pain can be anything. It doesn't have to be the fact that I live in physical pain. It doesn't have to be the fact that I've dealt with sexual assault and physical this and that and the other thing. All of that is pain. So pain is pain is pain, no matter which world you live in, whether you've lost a husband or gained a husband or whatever. Yeah, gaining a husband is also painful, by the way. Some of us have definitely come to find out, especially when we have our identity and we're set in it. So there's a whole other battle there. But but when we get to that place where it is time to face the pain, it's a very scary place to be open and to be vulnerable and to be raw and to be honest with yourself and to be honest with others about how you feel about something and how you don't know how to handle it. And us women take on the world. We can handle it all. I've got a freaking closet full of Superwoman capes, and they're all dirty and tarnished and there's holes in them. And they've just been through all all of the things. So you ended up saying enough is enough of the way that I'm grieving because it's not working for me. It's not working for me. It's not working for my kids. My husband's in heaven going, what the hell, woman?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
And thinking about that, I can imagine you must be thinking Martin's going, oh, come on, girl. You're bigger. You're better than this. You can do this. Don't drown yourself in wine. All of those conversations that you have with yourself. So you finally you're done. So now what did you do?
So I I then became a business coach because I wasn't ever going to work with people in grief, as you do.
Dun, da, da.
And as
Teaser.
the universe does and has its things, every business that I worked in, whoever I was working with, the owner, the CEO, the director, whoever, would say to me, "You're so good at this stuff, Denise. Why don't you help people in grief?" Everyone would say that to me. "You healed so amazingly. Why don't you help others?" No, looking, no. Been there, done that. Bought the T-shirt. I'm not interested at all. That was never my goal.
Right? I never thought I'd be in a wheelchair doing a podcast, but life happens.
It's like, hey, So I then evolved and grew. And one morning I woke up and I went, okay, universe, you want me to work with people in grief? Show me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the beginning of my journey.
I love it. So you started to go with the flow.
I started to go with the flow. And then I sat down and I started journaling and writing, okay, how did I heal myself? And the funny thing is, in looking back, I didn't go into the hows and whys and what's it going to look like and what do I have to do. I had absolute trust that this is my calling. This is what I have to do. This is what I need to do. I want to do it. I love it. And as I started getting clients and started growing myself, because you suddenly get a client that has something it's like, oh my God, you're joking. It's finding out that their husband had another whole family in another country with children that they didn't know because he was, and left them penniless. And you sort of think, oh my God, how am I going to help you? But you do, because it's about healing self. It's about going within, releasing that trauma, because grief is trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And grief comes in many shapes, sizes, and forms. You can lose a child. I've just lost my little doggy now, little Sally, and it was heartbreaking. It was like, oh, and the thing with loss of anyone, is the emptiness and the loneliness. I don't have a dog running to the front door anymore, barking because somebody's rung the doorbell. When I came home after my husband had passed away, I came home to an empty house. Thank goodness at the time I had a parrot, which was his parrot. And I know that sounds
oh my God.
It was his bloody bird. And the bird was called bird. It was what we call a pink and grey galah in Australia. Pink and grey big parrots, right?
Yes.
Martin loved them. We always had one as a pet. And just before he died, or when he was in hospital, this new parrot arrived because we just ordered a new parrot. But so he never ever met this bird. And he was in hospital. And I said to him, "What are we going to call this pink and grey galah?" And he said, "I don't know." So then we went through names. No, it doesn't like. Then when he died, I looked at this parrot in the cage, and I thought, "You're just bird." So,
come here, bird.
So he became bird, just bird.
Oh my God, I'm dying.
But I'd walk in and he'd go, "Hello, hello." So at least I had a parrot saying hello to me.
Oh my God, we cannot go down a parrot tangent right now. I have to curb the enthusiasm on the parrot right now. Oh my God. How can we get into what you have now coined as the flow method? Because I'd like to get into the methods and practice that you have been working on for yourself, as well as how you're working with other people to help with their grief.
Absolutely. So I created the flow program. It's my program. It's my method, because I reverse engineered how I healed myself so quickly. So the first letter, flow, stands for feel, let go, overcome, and become whole. We have to feel so that we can let go. Because once we know what we're feeling and we're letting go, we can then start overcoming. Once we overcome whatever's been holding us back, we then become a whole feeling person. Now, I know that sounds so simplistic. Okay, well, I've just got to feel, I've just got to let go, I've just got to overcome, and then I'll become whole.
So woo-woo, Denise. Oh my gosh.
I know. It's just so easy. I'll go away and do that. Here is the problem. When we start feeling, if we don't have somebody pulling us through our shit, we're not going to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're going to shut down. And that's what we do as human beings. We shut down. I don't want to feel that. It's too painful. So that builds.
Yeah, distance. I'm the queen of putting distance out. I separate. I go quiet. Don't talk to me. Don't bug me. I'm going to process this myself. And I end up digging myself actually deeper had I not just said, hey, this is what's actually going on with me.
And to put your hand up and say, I need help.
Right.
But the right help. Talk therapy does not work.
You're the third guest today I've talked to that have said those words. It's my third episode today, so I'm in. All three of you said the same damn thing. My therapist is going to be like, shit. You're putting me out of business, Lyndsay. No, I'm not. My guest star.
For the initial stages, when you need to just vomit over somebody, you need to just get it out.
Yeah.
But there comes a time when you go, now what? Now, what the hell am I going to do with the rest of my life? You get to that crossroads. The mistake people make when they get to that crossroads, and I've seen it with clients over the years, you can imagine, is that they go, well, that therapist's not working for me anymore. I'll find another therapist. Thinking that it's the therapist, not actually realizing that it's the model. That doesn't work. They think, oh, it's the therapist. It's not the therapist. It's the model they are taught to follow. So that's the crossroads where you've got to go, okay, I've got to do something different. Not find a different therapist, but do something different. And that's when you need to do the inner work. You need to start going within. You need to start going, who am I? Let me start feeling. Now, feeling an emotion is not just crying about it. It's not feeling sad. Because underneath all those emotions is hundreds of emotions beneath that, hundreds of triggers beneath that. What's triggering that feeling? What's triggering that emotion? Once you recognize that, now we can start letting that go, whatever it is. And it's different for everybody. There's no cookie cutter where you say, oh, well, I'm feeling really sad. And then we dig down and go, oh, it's because of this and that and whatever. It's different for everybody. Because we've had different life experiences.
Sure. And they've formed our opinion of how we're going to experience our life. I mean, the earlier episode I was recording today, we were talking about things that drive us nuts and things that, while you're talking, I'm thinking about, God, the guy was talking about, his name's John Graham. He's talking about anxiety and writing down all of the things that drive me insane. I'm like, I don't have a week to write down all of the things that drive me insane and that cause me anxiety, that tick me off. And then I thought, just while you were speaking, I get totally butthurt about my sweetie not wiping off the counter when he cooks things. It's just you see the sponge, it's right there. Just do it. And then I think if he was gone, something happened to him, I would only want all of those crumbs on the counter.
Yes.
So it's really looking at what's fucking important and what's not.
Totally. 100%. 100%. My husband snored. Oh my God, Martin snored. Jesus, he snored.
And boy, how much you miss the snoring.
How much I miss the snoring.
Yeah.
That was the first thing. It was like the bedroom silent. There's no.
It's like your white noise. That jab. I miss the jab.
The jab. Roll over. I'm not snoring.
What do you mean I'm not snoring? I'm like, oh my God, I have you on video. Okay? I will shame you. That's how I was raised.
So it's those things that you miss. And we don't factor that into grief and to loss.
Right. So we're feeling these emotions. And It's not like, oh, I'm boohoo sad. It's actually like feeling. Emotion is energy in motion,
That's
right?
right.
So it can be
Yes.
positive and negative. It doesn't have, like you said, it doesn't have to be you don't have to be a sobathon. You could be super crazy manic and be as high on life as possible when you're actually doing some grieving, because that might be how you're grieving. That might be how you're feeling emotions, because we all do it differently.
Very differently.
Yeah.
And then the cookie cutter comes out when everybody says, but you should be crying. Why? Some people just don't naturally cry.
Right.
I don't sob. I'm not a sobber myself. Even now when little Sally passed away, my grandson, he cried and he was sobbing, and he said, Granny, it's okay if you cry. You need to cry. And I mean, I felt the grief, but I didn't actually sob, because that's not who I am. But we need to embrace that. I'm still feeling the pain. Doesn't mean I'm not feeling the pain.
So after we're feeling our emotions, you move into the L part of it, of letting go of them.
Yeah. Now you know, okay, this is the emotion I'm feeling. Now I need to let go of that emotion. Now we start digging deeper into that emotion. It's all very well to say I'm feeling. Common one is I'm feeling abandoned.
Mm.
Okay. Now to get to that stage, we've done a bit of work. We've gone through, okay, their feeling is abandonment. Okay. Then the guilt comes in because they didn't intend to abandon the whole story. And then it's all the story. So we're uncovering all of that. Then we can start letting go of those stories, the abandonment, all those issues that you're having. That's another deep dive into there again. Now, this is work we can't do on our own. Why can we not do it on our own? Because we come up against ourselves, our beliefs. I'm okay. I'll be fine.
Well, fine is a woman's word. We've refined that word. Like, I'm fine.
I'm fine. I'm okay.
And,
I'm okay.
And all men know what that means. It means we're not.
Right.
Yeah.
So exactly right. So it's a case of helping you and pull you through that. I'm okay. I'm fine. Removing your armor, removing your mask, becoming vulnerable. That's in the letting go. So it's only then that you can go, okay, I've let go. You start feeling lighter. You start realizing that, oh my goodness, this has been with me all my life.
Mm.
Because grief puts a magnifying glass over your life. Suddenly it's like, oh my goodness, now we can start overcoming.
Well, yeah, because it drudges up all these other things that have been living with inside you that you haven't even broached, that you've stuffed down, that you've pushed down, that you're like, I'll deal with that later. Oh, I don't need to feel that way, or I'm not supposed to feel that way, or I'm a woman and I can't feel that way and I can't behave that way. I mean, it goes on and on. Our culture has put us into this space where we look great on Instagram, and then when we go home, we stuff all of our junk into a glass of wine. I mean, really what it comes down to is safety, because at least from my perspective, I mean, sharing and being raw and doing the things that you're doing with women and men alike, but I know that you work more with women. But when you're talking about letting go, that's letting go of potentially who you are. And I think for me, that's something that's very scary. And dealing with anxiety and dealing with loss and dealing with some of the things that I've been broaching on this show for many years now is I've been afraid to share my stories because I didn't want to be judged, or I didn't want people to be all boo-hoo, or, whatever it is. And identifying those feelings and understanding that I'm grieving myself as a little child from some of the things that happened to me right now. So when you're working with people in grief, you're not just talking about somebody that's just a widow. You're talking about people just as a whole that grieve, because we all have grief that we need to flow through and get out of our bods. I mean, we have to, because it's making us sick.
We live with grief. We all live with grief 24/7. And it is making us sick. We talk about pre-COVID and post-COVID. It's two different worlds. We're grieving the loss of the world we had before. There's grief. There's a lot of grief, and grief is loss, but it's so misunderstood. It's like, just get over it. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you're fine. Move on.
A huge block for me was just soldier on. My mother always used to say to me, just soldier on, Denise, just soldier on. So when Martin died, I just soldiered on. What else?
Push through the pain. Push through the pain.
Push through the pain. I've got the kids. I've got the grandkids. It's not about me. They've lost a dad. I'll be fine. And so many, all ladies do that. I won't even say so many. We all do that because we are the nurturers. That's what we do. We take care of everybody else, before ourselves.
We sure do.
Even the dog. I mean, the dog comes before us. If we've got no money to eat, we feed the dog before we feed ourselves.
100%. Everybody knows what my dogs look like. They are adorable.
Exactly.
I'm for sure feeding them before my sweetie. That's for sure. So now we're starting to let go, right? And we're getting to this point of letting go. And now we've got to overcome that.
Yeah.
We've got to overcome this, now we've felt all of this. Now we're letting go. And now we're feeling almost vulnerable, where there's a certain aspect of our identities that we've lost. We're rediscovering ourselves. We're having to reinvent ourselves. And having to kind of have a love affair with ourselves that we haven't had for a very long time, if ever.
I was saying, if ever.
Not a lot of us have ever had a love affair with ourselves.
Yeah.
No.
And that's where that's the beautiful sweet spot, because now you can start reimagining your new life. You've got the pen in your hand. You're not writing another chapter in your book. Everybody says, it's a new chapter. No, it's a whole new
book.
book.
New book. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I hate new chapter.
Yeah. Chapter closed when you lost that person. Now you close that book. Stop opening the fucking thing. Stop opening it up and reading it over and over again. And I know that sounds hard, but that is what brought you to where we are today. Stop opening it and reading it and rereading it. And if only, I feel so guilty. That's where people get stuck. Am I allowed to laugh? Am I moving forward too quickly? What being afraid of being judged?
Or why aren't you still wearing black?
I know. Why did you never wear black?
Everybody better wear pink to my funeral. I can just tell you that much. Okay. I want a big ass party, because this is a party and a half right here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not in Western society. We're not taught to celebrate life. I know that we have this term celebration of life, but everybody's so sad at the celebration of life because we must celebrate their life. We had an amazing focus on their life, the life that you had, and that's part of the overcoming. Is to swap your focus to not the moment that they died, or the moment that you lost them, or to the tragedy. Focus on the life you had together. There's a whole life before that moment in time.
Yeah.
Who do you want to be now? You've got an open book. Write your own story. Who do you want to be? If you're not happy with something, change it.
Yeah, we have the power to do that. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Hello. No one's standing in the way but your damn self. I mean, and I can speak to myself to that. Lyndsay, you are standing in your own way. I am. I stand in my own way in many places in my life. Am I aware of them? Yes, I am. Am I working on them? Not as much as I should. In some places better, and some areas not as much, because I am taking care of so many other people in my world. But now I've started to say, I'm at the top. I'm at the top. Everybody else is coming underneath me, because I'm not good to any of these people when I'm completely beaten down and broken down.
It is such, the cliche is you can't give from an empty cup, right? Everybody says that. I say, overfill your cup and give from the overflow. So your cup is always full.
The spillover goes to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that a lot.
You're always replenishing, But to do that, we have to put ourselves first. How do we put ourselves first? We have to learn to love ourselves.
And it's harder than it sounds.
Oh,
your face.
It is so hard to put ourselves first, because we've never done it before. Yeah. It's not something that comes naturally.
Yeah, it's certainly not it's not innate in me to take care of myself. It's innate for me to take care of everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So when we lose a loved one, like a mother that loses a child, for example, if that mother falls apart, what happens to that family? How many people do you know that have got divorced, have separated after the loss of a child? Why is that? Because of the family dynamics has changed.
Yeah.
The mother's grieving the way she grieves, the father's grieving the way he's grieving, and the children are grieving the way they're grieving. But in between all of that, they've been given this information on how they should grieve, what should happen. The mother's trying to keep herself together, but she's giving from a cup that's not even empty. It's just not even there.
Yeah, there's no cup.
There's no cup.
I am cupless. Where's my waitress?
And then the parents start arguing because the dad might be, and I've seen it so often, just throwing himself into work, keeping himself busy, working late nights. Mum is at home thinking he doesn't love me anymore because he's not home with me.
Or is having an affair, it goes on and on and
dynamic
on.
And all that story goes on and on and on and on until eventually the family splits. Some kids get into drugs, some kids, they go off the rails because that whole family unit is completely changed. So healing grief, and this is my message to everybody, do it as quickly as possible. Don't wait for time. Everybody says, it's okay, wait for time. Don't do anything in the first year.
Time will heal.
Time heals all. Oh, my darling, time heals all. It's okay. You're exactly where you're meant to be right now. Bullshit. You're not.
Bullshit is right. Yeah.
You are choosing not to take action in your own life. And I know it's tough. I mean, I've been there. I know what it's like. But I also know what's on the other side. There's joy, there's hope, there's laughter, there's life. It's not about that loss or about anything or feeling guilty. It's about embracing that love, embracing life, embracing laughter, embracing you, the new you. And that's why I talk about my previous life. I had one of my clients say to me, Denise, if Martin came back knocking at the door, would you be happy to see him? I said, no. No, I'm not in the same place.
I'm shooing out the pool boy Pedro out of the back door is what I'm doing. Whoa. Hold the phone, Martin.
Because I've changed. I've grown. I'm not that woman anymore.
Oh, that's kind of sad, but also joyful at the same time. Because that's a good question. Like if somebody came back that I lost a boyfriend many, many years ago in a car accident, and he had been part of my life for a very, very long time. And like I mourned that hard and grieved that hard because he was such a part of my youth as well as into like my college years and into my early adulthood years. And he was just kind of there in and out and what have you. I grieved that pretty hard. And if he came back, I'd be like, don't even think about it. Like, I don't even know. It wasn't my husband and it wasn't as big of a thing as yours, as long as a relationship, we'd have children or anything like that. But still, it's like when I couldn't even imagine that. Like all of a sudden the ghost of Christmas past comes in and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. He, I mean, I would still love him and everything else, but we wouldn't be where we were. You can't pick up where you left off.
No. That would be so weird and so interesting. Can we do this, Martin? If you're listening, we'd like to do an experiment.
And I don't think he would want who I've become, not saying that I've become this horrible person. But
no.
You know what I'm saying? We changed people. I've changed. I've grown. I've found me.
Yeah. So you end up coming into becoming your whole self, this self that you didn't necessarily even know that you weren't. I think that's what's so interesting. And it's like, I didn't even know that I was as empty as I was, or that I wasn't whole, or that I wasn't truly happy, or like you name it, and going through any kind. Yes.
I didn't know.
I am the queen of it.
I was that I would do anything to keep the status
anything.
Anything. No matter what it was, I just didn't want that boat to rock.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's funny because after Martin died, my kids thought that Mum was just going to carry on as herself. And of course, I was doing all this growing, and I was learning, and I was finding me, and I was enjoying my life, and I was going out, and I was meeting new people. I just started traveling. I started doing me.
Yeah.
And my daughter said to me, she said, "You're never home anymore, Mum." And I said, "Yeah, I know." I said, "Because
I'm living my life.
I have a life.
Yeah, I love that.
So for a lot of people, and a lot of women, we think, we take that, I am never home. Maybe I should be home more for my kids. No, your kids need to see the change in you. They need to see, wow, look how mum's grown. Mum's her own person.
Yeah, mom isn't kids. Mom isn't dad. Mom isn't dogs. Mom isn't cats. Mom is mom. Actually, mom is Denise. I am Denise. I am not all of these other people, even though I am. I think finding your identity throughout all of this has been so good for you.
And just a very quick note on that is that we live our lives according to our role, the role that we play. So we play the mum role, we play the granny role, we play the wife role, but that's not who we are.
We allow it to take over who we are, though. And that's something that I've had to step back and look at myself, go, whoa, hold on a second. I'm all of these people to all of these other people in my life. I'm like, who am I to me?
Yeah.
Who am I to me in my life? I wake up for what reason every morning? Is it for everybody else or is it for me? And that's something that's taken a lot of work for me to even get where I am right now, because I'm not great at this yet.
So that is the hardest thing to let go, is to embrace the self-love. But the letting go is what's beneath that. What do we need to let go to become that person, to be able to rediscover, be able to reinvent our lives, to be able to become that new person? Because if we don't, our body feels it in every cell of our body. We manifest cancers, we manifest all sorts of diseases. And if you already got that, it's going to reoccur because your cells react to the messages from that's receiving from your brain. And if that is just sadness and heaviness and grief, your cells are going to react in the same way.
Yeah, it's just like when you don't water a plant.
Yeah.
I say this to my sweetie all the time. I'm like, you understand if I don't put water in that basil plant, it's dead, right? So you should probably drink some water. If you don't feed your soul and you don't feed yourself, you're going to die. Yeah. I mean, in some way, shape, or form, whatever that looks like. Chronic illness, chronic disease, depression, anxiety, which way you look at it. We all have our this is it, guys. I mean, I believe in some of the woo-woo side of world where I believe that I've had like 22 lives. That's why I'm so exhausted. But none of us really know. I'm sorry if you think you do, but you don't. I have no idea what's going to happen when I die. I'm pretty sure I was Pocahontas in one life. I mean, who knows? But I think that one of the things that's most challenging for me in letting go is the fear of losing who I currently am. And that change isn't scary to me. I think change is awesome. I think everybody should embrace it. I'm a little scared that if I start relinquishing some control of the things that I always hold on to, like my anxiety, some sadness, some grief, some stuff that's happened, that if I let go of all of those, I'm not going to be Lyndsay anymore. And I just don't think that that's the case. That's me fighting with the Gemini in me probably, but some of that is something that I deal with in dealing with some of the grief that I'm just starting to unpack that's happened in my life.
But Lyndsay isn't anxiety. Anxiety is something that Lyndsy's chosen.
Ugh. It was nice knowing you, Denise. It's been a great episode.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. But this is part of
No, I know. It's hard to hear. It's hard to hear.
Yeah. Now, why do we choose anxiety? Because we think it keeps us safe.
And when you come from a life of where safety is a huge issue,
yes,
that's my coping mechanism is anxiety. I didn't know that though until I started this show.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the work that I do with my clients, because the death and the loss of that person is never the issue. That's what brought you to the stage in your life.
I love you. So before we leave, because my gosh, it's already been an hour. Holy moly, women.
Wow.
When you're talking about working with people, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
My website is the first port of call. And then, of course, I also have a free 45-minute coaching session to see if we're a match. Not everybody's ready to move forward.
Right.
And that's why we have the call.
That's nice of you to do that as a like, you're not quite ready for me yet.
Yeah.
That's good. And that's good to hear because I think a lot of people, I certainly know that I wasn't ready for a lot of the things that I'm doing now. 2 years ago, I wasn't even remotely ready.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Whereas some people are.
Yeah.
So, I don't have a buy now, click here, pay by my program because I work with people individually. So you get the program, which is an 8-week program, but you get me as well. And I always say to my clients, if you don't like me, too bad, because you've got me for the 8 weeks.
How can we not love Denise? Give me a break. Well, tough love is tough. And it is. Tough love is tough.
We have to be tough. And that's where the change comes. If I pander to your, oh, my darling, you anxious today. I know it's terrible. Go and put your feet up and read a book. What's going to happen? But if I say to you, okay, let's draw a line in the sand. You're anxious. You know that you're choosing that. So what are you choosing? It's a whole different question.
Yeah.
And you might think, oh, bitch, why are you asking me that? I didn't choose it. And
please.
I've had a client say to me, it was a shock when he said to me, I'm choosing grief.
It was a shock to her because it was real.
Yeah. So we choose everything. And then when she realized, oh, my God, we choose everything in our life. Everything is a choice. Even if we choose not to do something, guess what? We've just chosen to do it. To take no action, to not do anything, not to heal, not to grow, not to... I am passionate about growing in life, and especially after big life events. We get these life events to change us, to help us grow, not to keep us in that event.
Well said.
What happens in a fire? You have your wildfires in the US. We have them here in Australia. They burn down houses. They destruct. It goes, and then all of a sudden you see these little green shoots, but vivid green shoots coming through the destruction. That's nature.
I love that. We were talking about that before we started the episode about climate change and how some people don't believe in it. But we were talking about how, stuff happens in our world and our earth in and of itself has gone to its demise multiple times. I mean, we've had the Ice Age, guys, right? The earth comes back. And after those fires, there's actually a show on Netflix that's an Animal Planet kind of a thing with Morgan Freeman is the narrator. And he goes through all of the points in our earth millions and millions and millions of years ago and goes back through all of it, showing the strength and the beauty of how our entire world works together and how we're in it for a reason. And that our little spirits have an effect on our world because we're outward. If you are not a person that wants to be outward like Denise, that wants to help others, that's like myself, who wants to help others and help our environment, help our world, and help other people, find a different show to listen to. Because I don't want you here.
And that's my people. My people want to move forward because I've also now started the Academy of Transformation.
Yes.
And that's where I teach others to do what I do, help them learn, and they certify in the flow method and the flow program to pass it forward.
And I love that so much. And we can find you all over the place online. I'll put everything in show notes and in social media. Yeah. But the academy that she was just talking about is flowgriefacademy.com. She's on Insta, Facebook, YouTube, her website, flowgriefacademy.com. She's got a podcast as well called Grief Unlocked. She also has a group called Your Life Reimagined, an inner circle. She's got all kinds of different courses that you can take. But again, we've got that 45-minute introductory grief coaching session to see if you guys are a match with Denise. I mean, just spending time with you. I mean, you and I are a match made in heaven, but that was already decided before our 40. We can call this our 45 introductory grief coaching session. Am I a match? Because I'm crazy. Oh my gosh. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with before we hit the dusty trail here?
The only thing I can say is that loss and grief is not a life sentence. We create our own life sentence.
Yeah, I love that because it is true. We're in charge, guys. Nobody else. That's it.
100% in charge. When we learn to accept the responsibility for our own lives and our own choices, doesn't matter what's going on around you in the world. And oh boy, we've discussed a bit of that as well. It makes no difference to what's going on around you because it's your inner world. Who am I being right now? What am I choosing?
And how are you portraying yourself out into the world? I mean, that's the,
Yeah.
Totally. Put it out in the world, guys. I love it. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time and for being such a trooper with everything that you've been through. And you are definitely an inspiration to me and certainly just hopefully every single listener here. And if not, then stop listening. I'm kidding. Keep listening. So thank you so much again. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And I look forward to helping. If you can help one person, my job is done.
You got that right. That's how I feel with doing this show. That's for sure. You are exclusively invited to share this Create Your Own Life Sentence VIP pain journey together. Let's get to the heart of how to heal with you by my side and Denise's side. Do you know anybody that needs to hear this conversation today? I feel like there's got to be one or two of you out there. Do you live in chronic pain? Are you dealing with any grief and loss? Please reach out to both of us. We are here to help. Welcome to the Pain Guide Podcast. That's what we're here for. Let's connect and hear your stories of strength and grit and to provide you a safe place to be vulnerable and honest while sharing your powerfully amazing stories. So if you haven't already, please follow the Pain Game Podcast. Wherever you digest your podcast content, we will be there. Visit us at thepaingamepodcast.com and follow us on all the socials. Thanks for listening, my little VIPs. Catch you on the other side.